Welcome to the Tax Sale Podcast, where tax sale investing is made easy. My name is Casey Dimon. I'm a tax sale veteran. I am the leading tax sale expert. I'm the author of the Tax Sale Playbook, founder of the Tax Sale Academy, and I am your host right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast episode. This podcast can be found on a number of different channels, including Spotify video, YouTube, and wherever else podcasts can be found. If you enjoy these tax sale training episodes, make sure you subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting platform. And as a reminder, this podcast is brought to you completely free through and because of the Tax Sale Academy. And you can learn more about membership options by visiting taxsaleacademy.com. All right, today I want to take some time to provide a few responses to the so-called challenges that a lot of new investors bring up when it comes to tax sale investing. Now, I've been in this tax sale business for 20 years. I've taught others how to invest for close to 11 years now, and I've invested in all market cycles, hundreds of different real estate markets, and I've been involved in well over 1,000 different properties. Additionally, I've trained thousands of other people. I've worked together with countless Academy members over the years, so I've seen many different issues, styles, approaches, and strategies. Now, some of these are solutions, while others are just designed to help you approach the business a little bit differently. Anytime I bring up the tax sale business, somebody will undoubtedly reply with a but what about this? Or, but what about that? Or for new investors getting into the business, I'll get responses like, it might work for you, but what about me? So let's go over a few of these. Now, before I do, I want you to understand this is a business. This is not a scheme or something where you'll get rich without any effort. Every business takes effort, takes time, takes strategy. If you're looking for easy, tax sale investing is probably not going to be it. But if you're willing to put in the effort, you're willing to put in the work, it can be a very rewarding business. Okay, so let's discuss some of the issues that I am told about. But aren't you kicking people out of their house? The tax sale process takes multiple years in nearly every single state. This means that delinquent taxes have been past due for a number of years. Those owners have had years to work out payment plans, to sell the property, or otherwise come up with those funds. Get this, the county does not want to take these properties the moment they are late. In fact, the county doesn't want to take these properties at all. All they want is that tax revenue. That way, the county can continue to provide the services and amenities to its citizens. So, the delinquent owners, they've had plenty of time to redeem these properties. It is not a last minute kick you out of your house the day after you're late type thing. Secondly, most of the properties available at tax sales, most of the homes are abandoned. And it's usually going to be the home on the street that is in the worst condition. Area residents love tax sale investors because they will usually help to bring those properties back up to standards. Kicking somebody out of their house is extremely rare. We'll actually touch on this a little bit more with another issue that people bring up in the next few minutes. All right, the next one, but what about all of the competition? I've been to an auction and everything sold for too much money. This is the one that everybody loves to use. If I take a look through all the concerns or issues that new investors have, if I'm looking at DMs or looking at YouTube comments, this is the one that is most often discussed. Here's the solution. Find a different auction. If everything goes for too much money in the auction you're attending, go to a different area. You know, I used to only invest in my hometown market. I've discussed this before, but the competition there increased and the property started selling for too much money. So what did I do? I didn't complain about it. I went to another market and another market and another market. Short term, it took me to areas with minimal competition. Long term, it allowed me to realize there are thousands of different markets in this country that I can go to, cherry pick the properties that best fit my objectives, where I can make the most money off of, And I can do this as much as I want. There's almost an unlimited supply of properties if you're willing to find different areas. So if the area that you're going to is too competitive, consider another area, consider reevaluating your strategy, or figuring out a different approach to your business. Now, I've discussed all this inside the Academy, of course, and even on this podcast, but this is by far the easiest so-called issue to solve. Competition is very, very easy to figure out ways around. The next one, but there aren't any properties available at my auction, or but the auctions are only held here once a year or once every 5 years or whatever it is. The solution to this is the same thing that we just discussed. Make the most out of what you can with where you are at. And when that stops working or doesn't work, change areas. It's a very, very simple solution. Next one, but there is so much due diligence and research required. Listen, I agree 100% with this one, and I cannot dispute it. But aren't you doing the same due diligence for all investments you make, even if you're buying real estate on the conventional market? Or are you taking the word of somebody else, perhaps the seller or the realtor who is trying to sell you that property about something, instead of you performing your own due diligence on that property? Every single investment that you make must have due diligence performed, no matter the avenue of purchase. Now, when we're talking about the tax sale business, it is crucial to understand just how important this is. It's also crucial to learn how to perform this due diligence accurately and efficiently. The majority of the properties that I do not want to invest in, I can weed out in 10 or 20 seconds. So learn how to research efficiently, and your business will become much easier to operate. But absolutely, research and due diligence is a requirement in this business. Another one that I get, but isn't this a risky business? No, flat out no. It is only risky when you choose to allow it to be risky. Let's think about it this way. You choose how much you learn about this business, how much you learn about the process, how much you learn about the laws, all that kind of stuff. You also choose how much research you perform on that property. You choose how much you will pay for that property. You choose how much of a buffer you will have for that property in case there are any unexpected issues. You choose how you're going to handle that property once you acquire it. You also choose how you're going to market that property. You choose how much the property will sell for compared to its relative market value. You choose all these things. So in short, guess who chooses the risk? You do. It's that simple. Sure, crazy stuff can pop up, but at the end of the day, if you're in this for a long-term sustainable business, instead of just trying to recklessly make a quick buck, the risk here is extremely minimal and it's all controlled by you. Next one, but what about researching properties only to have them removed just days before the auction? And what is meant by this is in some situations, you have a tax deed list for properties that are going to be sold, and at the last minute, the delinquent taxpayer comes in and redeems those properties, pulling them from the auction. Well, guess what? That is just a part of the business. It does provide good practice when it comes to research, and again, it should not be that big of a deal considering the majority of the properties you probably don't want to purchase anyhow. When properties are removed, you are simply investing time into operating your business. It is a time expense to operate that business, the same time expense that every single business in the world requires. Yes, every single business in the world, you're going to be doing something, investing some sort of time where you don't get an immediate return off of it. It's just part of doing the business. It is that simple. Next one, but aren't the properties in poor condition? Absolutely, many are. But understand what you are doing in this business. You are buying properties where the owner has failed to pay the taxes on those properties. These are not typical properties off of the multiple listing services that realtors use that have been staged for your convenience. These are properties in rough condition. Some worse than others, yes, but understand that going into it, budget for how the condition of that property is reflected in its potential resale value to you, and then you're golden. Many tax sale investors have made loads of money off of properties that were in poor condition, myself included, and many of my Academy members included as well. A property in poor condition does not mean it is an unprofitable property. That's actually far from the truth if you approach it correctly. Another one, but the titles have issues. The titles have clouds. Yes, they do. If you're not familiar with what this means, I have a few early episodes about it, but essentially the titles are not as marketable as most properties on the open market without additional action. Now, I remember having a realtor one time comment on I believe it was a YouTube video, and she said, "You can't sell tax sale titles." She was unfortunately completely clueless. Yes, you can. Yes, I do. And yes, there are thousands sold every single day across the country. The solution here is very simple. You can clear the titles using a suit to quiet title or a tax foreclosure certification, or you can sell the properties at a discounted price with an as-is title. Of course, there's pros and cons to both of these options, but any title issues are extremely easy to solve. The next one that I get, but what if people are living there? We actually touched on this a little bit in the first issue that was brought up. If people are living there, great. That's actually a clue as far as its interior condition. That means that the property is at the very least habitable for those occupants. Now, it might not be in great condition. It might not be the condition that I or you want to live in, but likely it has a roof and it isn't missing any exterior walls or anything crazy like that if people are living there, if the power's turned on. But get this, you should know that when you perform your due diligence. And then you can decide if you want to take the time to deal with those occupants after your purchase or not. You can also budget for that pre-purchase, of course, because it all goes back to doing proper due diligence. You're going to know if you did your diligence correctly, whether people are living there or not. And then you can decide if you want to deal with them. If you do buy that property, and if you do want to deal with them, I'd recommend a cash for keys arrangement. You simply give them a few $100, have them leave the property instead of going through the court system. That will work a large majority of the time. I'd actually probably venture to say the overwhelming majority of the time that's going to work. If it does not work, use the court system. There's laws for that. But regardless, remember, it is your choice whether you want to deal with those occupants or not ahead of your purchase, provided you do that proper due diligence. Another one, but what if I can't attend the auction? Well, the good news here is that since the pandemic, many counties have and are transitioning to online auction platforms. If you have an internet connection, if you're watching this video right now or listening to my podcast, you can attend more auctions today than you could last month, 6 months, and certainly a year or 5 years ago. If you have an internet, that's all it takes in most parts of the country. In fact, I purchased properties from my office, from restaurants, from airplanes, from cruise ships, and just about any other place that you can imagine. So the possibilities are certainly there if you utilize technology. With that said, sure, there are still a lot of in-person only auctions that exist. In that scenario, you have a few different options that you could take. The first one is you could skip those auctions entirely and just focus on the online auctions. Or you could take the angle that attending these in-person auctions will likely have lower levels of competition than the online auctions where anybody in the world can bid on properties. And a lot of my Academy members are actually seeking out in-person auctions because it does limit your competition. And of course, in that situation, maybe you take time off work, maybe you take a vacation or you sick days or whatever to get there if you're not yet a full-time investor, and you go and you bid on those properties. If you can't do that, you can always hire a proxy that is local to the area to bid on the properties for you. And of course, there's strategies and stuff like that that will help you with that when the time comes. But it's very simple. There's easy solutions to all of these. You know, the list of, but what about type issues could go on forever. There's a solution. There's a reason for all of these. If you want to find an excuse that holds you back, I can assure you there are countless excuses in this business and in every single other business. If you want to find success, if you want to find solutions, I can also assure you there are countless in this business. At the end of the day, while I can provide the training, the strategy, and the help, the only person that can control whether or not you succeed in this business is you. I truly hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Tax Sell Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our episodes, please do us a huge favor and leave a positive review on whatever podcasting platform you are listening to us on today, as it really makes a huge difference as we curate these episodes for you. And as always, if we can be of any additional help, be sure to check out our website at taxsellacademy.com. Hey, take care and make it a successful day. We'll see you next time right here on the Tax Sell Podcast. Bye-bye.